Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're going to discuss how to talk about your emotions without being annoying. If you've listened to me for more than 5 minutes, then you know I stress the importance of talking through your emotions, just to be emotionally open and literate with people around you. But given our culture, and this isn't for a bad reason, but given our culture, whenever I say that, I think people automatically think be emotional, be overly indulging with your emotions. Talking about your emotions is inherently annoying. I think that's the fear for women, or it makes you look weak. That's the fear for men, and these aren't unfounded. You can definitely find examples of people talking about their emotions and it being either annoying or weak. In fact, this is most examples of people talking about emotions. So when I come on and tell you to talk about your emotions, you go, well, what's this guy talking about? He wants me to be annoying or weak. I think it's very similar to talking to strangers. I mean, personally, I had a very difficult time realizing that it was okay to talk to strangers because all my points of reference of other people talking to strangers where they were all, emotional narcissists. They're all trying to get something from the person they were talking to. I just had this experience. I was at the grocery store. This lady was complaining to me about the price of chocolate. I was just standing there. I wasn't even looking at the chocolate. It was very strange. She was complaining to me about the price of chocolate. And I was kind of in a hurry, just walk in and get one thing. And it was very strange. She was trying to get my emotional support in that moment. And this is how most people experience other people talking with strangers. And this is how we experience people talking about their emotions. So what I want to do is offer a framework for how to talk about your emotions in a way where nobody thinks you're emotional. Nobody would use that word to describe you, even though that's what you're doing, and you're going to be the opposite of annoying, and you're going to come off as, I think, very strong. So there's 5 steps to do this. How to talk about your emotions in a way that doesn't make you annoying. The first thing to do is to butt smell. If you notice dogs go to the park, the first thing they do is they smell the other dog's butts just to get a sense of where they are. Not getting to know them too much. They're not playing yet. Just, where are you? Like, what's going on with you? I think humans do this too. Small talk. That's the main way. Call it vibing. How do you know if you are a guy who's read too much stoicism? Is you don't like small talk. Well, guess what? You're a human. Being a small talk is a part of what you do to vibe, to smell the butts of other people. Talking about the weather or traffic or some news event recently that happened that is of little importance is not talking about that thing. You are, in a sense, just getting comfortable with vibing with the other person. This could last a few minutes. It could last a little bit longer. I think this is where jokes come in handy. If you have any kind of sense of humor, I've heard jokes are good for this vibing, for this connection. You can't go in to talk with somebody, let's say you're at a dinner party, you can't just bring up an emotional issue right away. It doesn't work. You have to vibe. I keep using that word. Hey, I'm in California. You have to vibe. You have to, again, do that whole butt smelling thing. Jokes can be a big part of this. The second step is this isn't really a step, but before you can talk about an emotional thing at a dinner party, cocktail party, if you're out with a friend, even if you met somebody for the first time, on the first date with a girl, you could not bring up an emotional issue unless you've already processed it first. Talk through it in therapy. This can't be the first time your resentment about your dad is coming out of your mouth. It's going to feel strange. You have to first give voice. You have to give awareness to these emotional issues. First, this is where therapy is helpful. If you're religious, go see a priest, a religious leader. You have to hear the words come out of your mouth. Talk through it. Ask yourself, let's say it's resentment about your dad. Ask yourself where this resentment's coming from, right? How it's your responsibility. The resentment is your responsibility. The instigation of the resentment could be your dad's responsibility, but that doesn't matter now if you're an adult. This is really the point of therapy, and this is what we offer in the therapy that we do, a definite structure for processing emotions. You got to do that first. Otherwise, it's going to come off as strange and weird, and you are inevitably going to rely on the other person for support because you don't know where it's going. You don't know what bringing up this resentment about your dad, for example, is going to lead to emotionally or factually. What else is going to come out of your mouth? It's a very precarious situation, which is fine. but a cocktail party isn't the place to do it. The third step to keep in mind when talking about emotions without being annoying is you're doing it. The reason why you're bringing up this emotional issue. This goes back to the lady who was complaining to me about the price of chocolate at the grocery store. The reason you're bringing up this emotional issue isn't for support, isn't for attention, isn't to get something from somebody else, not even 1%, not even half of 1%. It is to connect with others. And the words you use could be very similar to the lady complaining to me about the price of chocolate. Well, I don't know. How could you complain about the price of chocolate in a way that connects? Well, you can make a joke out of it, right? So what that lady could have done to me instead is, first of all, come at me with the intention of not trying to get emotional support, not trying to complain, but maybe being funny about it, saying like, "Oh, what, I got to take out a second mortgage on the house for Hershey's," I don't know, something like that, right? And done in a way to indicate that she doesn't need my support. And the way that she does that is to not have that intention at all, which goes back to the second step. You got to process this stuff first. So you're bringing up emotional issues. You're complaining about chocolate at the grocery store for the purpose of connecting with somebody else. You're going into it with the assumption that the person you're talking with is going through this as well. I'm going through this. You're going through this. I'm sorry, I got distracted, but I think this works better. People always say that the foundation of charm or the foundation of charisma is being interested in somebody else. I think that's true to some extent, but I think this kind of connection is a way to broach that interest. It's a way to get somebody interested in telling you about them if you go first and say, this is what I'm going through, with the intention of that they're probably going through it too. And people feel that, right? We just feel that. I could feel that lady at the grocery store complaining about chocolate. I could just feel her dragging on me. And I just had to do the thing like, oh yeah, like barely pay attention and then turn and walk away. The fourth thing to keep in mind is the ratio of 3 to 1. So we think that a normal conversation, especially about deeper topics, is supposed to go back and forth. And maybe vibing, to the small talk thing, the butt smelling thing, that's more of a back and forth. But when it comes to deeper emotional issues, I find that the ratio of 3 to 1. So if you're talking about something going on with you, say 3 things to every 1 thing the other person says. And vice versa. If they're, reciprocating, talking about something emotional after you ask them, then let them say 3 things before you say 1 thing. I think this overcomes people's resistance to, well, first of all, butting in when somebody is talking about their emotions. A lot of people think, I'm just going to be interested. I'm not going to say anything about me. And it becomes very one-sided and the conversation kind of drifts away. I think it also helps people overcome the resistance of not wanting to talk about themselves or thinking that they're going to inevitably be a hindrance on somebody else if they are discussing their emotional issues. But just keep that ratio of 3 to 1 in your mind. A good, deep emotional conversation is not back and forth. That's all I'm saying. I also keep the ratio of 3 to 1 in mind if I'm talking to somebody in an airplane. Like, you're talking to somebody next to you and you're not really sure if they want to talk to you. What I do is I'll say 3 things or ask 3 questions or ask 2 questions, make 1 statement. And if they don't reciprocate, then it's done. Then I can just assume they don't want to talk and I don't bring it up. But I give it 3, salvos out there just to see if I get any feedback, any reciprocation. And then the 5th thing to keep in mind is leave out abuse. Any serious emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, don't bring that stuff up with anybody. Except, maybe a very close friend. I mean, maybe a significant other, your wife or husband, girlfriend, boyfriend. But in the context of a cocktail party, I don't care how well you have it processed. And a lot of people can process it well enough, or they could bring it up in a cocktail party and be totally fine with it. It just doesn't work. I mean, I don't know. I live in America, in the West here. Just don't bring up that stuff. Maybe your culture is different, but I don't care how well you process that. Just do not bring that up unless it's a very good friend, one-on-one kind of thing. So that's how you talk through emotions. That's how you can create deep connections with people without being weak, without being annoying, without anybody else using that pejorative of emotional to describe you. And, The election is next week, right? So maybe you thought I was going to talk about that. I am talking about the election. You are upset about the election. You are so worried about the other guy winning. Oh, it's going to ruin America, because you lack the ability to do this. The more you do this, the more you can talk through emotional issues with people in a cool way, in a way where people think, oh, this guy's kind of cool. I've heard that happens. The less involved you're going to be in the election, the less you're going to think it really matters, because ultimately I would say it really doesn't matter that much. So I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. We do free consultations. We show you exactly how to process emotions to get you ready to be more emotional, to maybe be perhaps even cool when at a dinner party, when at a cocktail party, when meeting people who could be new friends. We do free consultations. animusempire.com/schedule. I will leave it there, and always remember that the only thing more unpopular than somebody who overshares is somebody who doesn't share at all.